What if I told you there was a car that could smoke a Ferrari F40, embarrass a Lamborghini Countach, and make a Porsche 911 Turbo look like it was stuck in traffic, but you could never legally drive it on public roads? And no, I'm not talking about some Formula 1 car or track-only hypercar. I'm talking about cars that regular people could theoretically buy, but governments around the world said nope, faster than you can say speed limit. Buckle up, because we're about to dive into the most forbidden automotive fruit that ever existed. This is the story of cars so fast, so dangerous, and so absolutely bonkers that they were banned before most people even knew they existed. What's up, speed demons? Welcome back to the channel where we dig into the cars that make your insurance company cry. Today, we're counting down the top 10 most illegal supercars that were faster than Ferraris but banned from the streets. These aren't your typical too loud for the neighborhood cars. These are machines that governments took one look at and said absolutely not. From cars that literally couldn't stop properly to vehicles that would have turned every highway into the Autobahn, we're about to explore automotive history's most forbidden chapter. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why some cars are just too dangerous for this world. Starting our countdown at number 10, we have the Vector W8 Twin Turbo, and let me tell you, this thing was like giving a toddler a flamethrower. Built in the late 80s, this American-made missile could hit 242 miles per hour and go 0 to 60 in just 3.9 seconds. To put that in perspective, that's faster than a Ferrari F40 from the same era. But here's where it gets spicy. This car was so aerodynamically unstable at high speeds that it was basically a guided missile with 4 wheels. The Vector W8 was banned in several countries, not because it was too fast, but because it was too unpredictable. Imagine trying to explain to your insurance company that your car just took off. The kicker? Only 19 of these beauties were ever made before the company went belly up. Coincidence? I think not. But wait until you hear about the Japanese car that was so fast it made the government rewrite the speed limit laws overnight. This next one didn't just break records, it broke entire regulatory systems. Coming in at number 9, we have the car that single-handedly made the US government paranoid about Japanese engineering. The Nissan Skyline GTR R34 V-Spec. This isn't just any GTR, this is the one that was so good at going fast that America banned it for 25 years. Now, technically it wasn't banned for being too fast, it was banned because Nissan never bothered to make it comply with US safety and emission standards. But let's be real, when you have a car that can be modified to produce over 1,000 horsepower with just a few bolt-ons, maybe that's for the best. The R34 GTR was so legendary that people were smuggling them into the US like they were carrying contraband. And honestly, with a top speed of 165 miles an hour and the ability to embarrass supercars costing 3 times as much, I can see why. This car didn't just beat Ferraris, it made them question their life choices. Fun fact, the few legal R34s in the US today are worth more than some houses. Supply and demand, baby, especially when the government says you can't have it. Speaking of governments freaking out, wait until you hear about the German car that was so fast they had to create an entirely new category of vehicle classification just to keep it off the streets. Number 8 on our list is the Porsche 959, a car so advanced that it made the US government throw a technological temper tantrum. This wasn't just a sports car, this was a computer on wheels that happened to have a 444 horsepower twin-turbo flat-6 engine. The 959 hit 197 miles per hour and could go 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, numbers that would make a Ferrari F40 sweat. But here's the kicker, it was banned in the US not because it was too fast, but because it was too smart. The advanced electronics and materials didn't meet DOT standards because, well, the standards didn't exist yet. This car had tire pressure monitoring, adjustable suspension, and traction control when most cars were still figuring out fuel injection. It was like trying to register a spaceship at the DMV. The government literally didn't know what to do with it. Only 337 were made, and getting one legally imported to the US required an act of Congress. Literally. Bill Gates had to get special permission just to own one. When you need presidential approval to buy a car, you know it's serious business. But if you think German over-engineering is scary, wait until you meet the Italian car that was so fast and so dangerous, they banned it before it even left the factory floor. Number 7 is the Lamborghini Mura Jota, and this is where things get absolutely insane. This wasn't just a car, this was Lamborghini's attempt to create a street-legal race car that would make Formula 1 drivers nervous. The Jota was basically a Mura that went to the gym, got a doctorate in aerodynamics, and decided to become a professional athlete. It was 800 pounds lighter than the standard Mura, and produced around 440 horsepower, which doesn't sound crazy until you realize it weighed less than a Honda Civic. This thing could theoretically hit 200 plus miles per hour and would have obliterated any Ferrari of its era. But here's the tragic part. Lamborghini themselves realized it was too dangerous for public roads. The suspension was so stiff it would have rattled your teeth loose, and the aerodynamics were so aggressive that hitting a pothole might have launched you into orbit. Only one prototype was ever built, and even that was eventually crashed and destroyed. Sometimes the manufacturers know better than the customers. Sometimes. But government bans are nothing compared to what happens when the military gets involved. Our next car was literally classified as a weapon by the British government. Number 6 is the TVR Cerbera Speed 12, a car so violently fast that TVR's own test drivers refused to drive it. This British beast packed a 7.7-liter V12 engine producing over 800 horsepower in a car that weighed about as much as a modern Honda Accord. To put this in perspective, this car had more power-to-weight ratio than most modern hypercars. It could have hit 240 miles per hour and would have made a Ferrari F50 look like a grocery getter. But here's where it gets good. TVR's own engineers took one look at their creation and said, nope, we're not selling this to the public. The Speed 12 was so unhinged that it was basically undrivable. The throttle was more like a suicide switch, and the handling was described as trying to ride a lightning bolt. Even the legendary British motoring press, who usually love anything fast and dangerous, called it too much car for any road. Only one prototype exists, and it sits in a museum like a caged animal. Sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones that never make it out of the zoo, but British restraint is nothing compared to American ambition. Our next car was banned not for being too fast, but for being too American, if that's even possible. Number 5 is the Shelby Cobra 427 Super Snake, and this is where Carroll Shelby decided that subtlety was for other people. This wasn't just a Cobra. This was a Cobra that had been fed nothing but raw meat and steroids for 6 months. The Super Snake packed a 427 big block V8, producing over 800 horsepower in a car that weighed about as much as a modern Miata. It could hit 200 miles per hour and would have made contemporary Ferraris look like they were moving backwards. But here's the kicker. Only 2 were ever made, and one of them killed its first owner. The Super Snake was so dangerous that insurance companies wouldn't touch it, and several states threatened to ban it outright. When you build a car so powerful that it's literally homicidal, maybe it's time to reassess your engineering priorities. The surviving Super Snake sold at auction for $5.5 million, making it one of the most expensive American cars ever sold. Sometimes the most dangerous things are also the most valuable, but American excess is nothing compared to Japanese precision turned deadly. Our next car was so perfect at going fast that multiple countries banned it simultaneously. Number 4 is the Honda NSX RGT, and this is what happens when Honda's engineers decide to stop being nice. This wasn't just an NSX, this was an NSX that had been trained by ninjas and fed nothing but racing fuel. The NSX RGT was 300 pounds lighter than the standard NSX, had more aggressive aerodynamics, and produced enough downforce to drive upside down at 150 miles per hour. It could hit 180 miles per hour and would have embarrassed Ferraris costing twice as much. But here's where Honda shot themselves in the foot. They made it so track focused that it was literally illegal for street use in most countries. The suspension was so stiff it would have cracked your spine. The aerodynamics were so aggressive it couldn't clear speed bumps, and the noise levels were literally above legal limits. Only 5 were ever made, and all of them were immediately banned from public roads. When even Honda admits their car is too extreme for the street, you know it's serious business. But track-only cars are nothing compared to street cars that are too fast for their own good. Our next entry was banned on the Autobahn, and if Germany thinks your car is too fast, you've got problems. Number 3 is the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR, a car that Mercedes built because the racing regulations said they had to make a street version. This is what happens when German engineers are forced to make a race car street legal against their better judgment. The CLK GTR packed a 6.9-liter V12 producing 612 horsepower in a car that was basically a Le Mans prototype with license plate holders. It could hit 214 miles per hour and would have made any Ferrari of its era question its life choices. But here's the beautiful irony. Despite being technically street legal, the CLK GTR was banned from public roads in several countries because it was too dangerous. The aerodynamics were so aggressive that following traffic could be sucked into the car's wake, and the downforce was so intense that it could damage road surfaces. Only 25 road cars were made, and most of them have never seen public roads. When your street car is too extreme for the street, maybe you've missed the point entirely. But German over-engineering is nothing compared to Italian madness. Our next car was so insane that Ferrari themselves refused to let journalists drive it. Number 2 is the the Ferrari FXX. And this is where Ferrari decided that customer service was overrated. This wasn't just a car you couldn't drive on public roads. This was a car Ferrari wouldn't even let you take home. The FXX was based on the Enzo, but cranked up to 11. It produced 800 horsepower, could hit 214 miles per hour, and would have made any contemporary supercar look like it was stuck in traffic. But here's the kicker. Ferrari kept all 30 FXXs at their own facilities and only let owners drive them at Ferrari-approved track days. This car was so extreme that Ferrari didn't trust their own customers with it. The aerodynamics were so aggressive that it generated more downforce than some F1 cars, and the engine was so highly strung that it needed constant professional maintenance. When Ferrari, the company that regularly sells cars capable of killing their drivers, decides your car is too dangerous for private ownership, you know you've crossed a line. The FXX wasn't just banned from public roads, it was banned from private garages. But even Ferrari's paranoia is nothing compared to our #1 entry. This car was so fast and so dangerous that its very existence was classified by multiple governments. Number 1 is the Bugatti EB110 GT, and this is the car that made governments around the world realize that maybe unlimited speed wasn't such a good idea. This wasn't just fast, this was apocalyptically fast. The EB110 GT packed a quad turbocharged V12 producing over 600 horsepower in a car designed by aerospace engineers. It could hit 218 miles per hour and would have made any Ferrari of its era look like it was moving in slow motion. But here's where it gets interesting. Several countries banned it, not because it was too fast, but because it was too capable. The EB110 GT was equipped with advanced traction control, all-wheel drive, and aerodynamics so sophisticated that it was essentially a guided missile. Multiple governments classified its technical specifications as sensitive information because the technology was considered too advanced for civilian use. Only 95 were ever made before Bugatti went bankrupt, and honestly, maybe that was for the best. When your car is so advanced that governments treat it like a weapon, you've probably gone too far. So there you have it, 10 cars that were faster than Ferraris, but too dangerous for this world. From the Vector W8's aerodynamic instability to the Bugatti EB110 GT's classified technology, these machines represent the absolute limits of what's possible when engineers stop asking should we and focus entirely on can we. The crazy part, most of these cars would still be competitive today. The automotive industry has spent the last 30 years learning to build cars that are fast and safe, but these forbidden fruits remind us that speed without restraint is just organized chaos. What's your favorite illegal speed demon? Let me know in the comments below, and remember, just because you can't drive it doesn't mean you can't dream about it. If you enjoyed this dive into automotive's forbidden fruit, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we're just getting started with the cars that changed everything. Until then, keep the shiny side up and the fast side responsible. Peace.